Right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome everybody to episode number 13 of Enriching Talks with Hafsa. And guess who's here with me in Kuwait? My beloved Aisha AlHajjar. So she's in Kuwait since she was
Few
half in
days.
Kuwait, half on Saudi.
In and out.
Yeah, she was commuting all the way from Saudi here. So mashallah, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna miss an opportunity to do a talk with her. So alhamdulillah, we got a chance to get her on for our enriching talks. How do you click it? I don't know the Mac stuff, yeah. So I don't think you guys need to know much about me. In fact, I'm going to, you can just click ahead. Just going to tell you what is the mission and vision behind these enriching talks. I tried to do them monthly, but I kind of started to go with my pace, whatever was easier for me. It wasn't always monthly. Whenever I have an interesting topic or interesting speaker, and I have some extra time, that's when I'm doing these talks now. So if you're here today, a very, very warm welcome. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khairan. This is not just a usual talk show. The mission and vision here is to help give inspiration, share stories, motivation, support each other, laugh together. We've had tears here. We have had everything in these little talks, little free sessions that I do. And I will be uploading them. I do upload them if anyone wants to catch up on it later. So alhamdulillah, we are blessed. Yeah, you can click ahead. To have Aisha AlHajjar with us in Kuwait. And this is the picture I took. We had a free session here on navigating natural births in hospitals on Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? Yeah, it was Tuesday.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was Tuesday.
A few days ago.
Yeah, you can. So that's a picture I quickly took, and I'm like, I'm going to use this one for today.
Yeah, nice.
So Aisha, you can introduce yourself, and then I'll introduce the topic today.
Oh, introduce myself. All right, so I'm Aisha AlHajjar. I am an American midwife, founder of AMANI Birth, mother of 8 naturally born breastfed babies. I have a passion for traveling around the world and sharing about really the women's rights in childbirth. What are your choices? How can you get prepared? Really working with everyone from moms and dads to OBs and hospital administrators, trying to kind of bring from the top down and the bottom up, meet in the middle so that we can have empowering birth experiences. Because as it says on the screen, no birth should be traumatic. So I'm all about trying to avoid that trauma whenever possible.
Right. And that is why we're gathered here today. In fact, let me just say a bit of a prelude to today's session. So in Kuwait, we had last week, it's been a week now. Last week, we had a session here about women's right in the labor room. It was in Arabic. We had some doctors and lawyers gather together. It arranged it nice, lovely.
Very nice.
And then I realized, okay, that's them speaking. It was not lovely that now that awareness is starting. But that made me realize, first of all, my first birth was very traumatic. It was a very unnecessary C-section. The recovery was horrible. And subhanAllah, that experience is why I'm sitting here today, because had that experience not happened, I would not have had my VBAC, my second VBAC, not done the AMANI training, not be here today, and not met Aisha as well. So alhamdulillah for that experience, but I'm still carrying that trauma. You never really forget. You never forget the day you give birth. So what I want and what AMANI Birth wants and what our mission and vision is to help protect mamas from traumatic births, because birth trauma is real. And I feel not many people talk about it, and not many women share about it even. And this is why I'm here today. And I thought no better person to talk about it than Aisha. So we're going to do it in 3 parts. First of all, defining what is exactly birth trauma. It could be different. And then we're going to talk about what can be done about it, and then how to heal from it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So that is our thing. So how would you personally define birth trauma, Aisha?
Well, birth trauma, I think trauma, like pain, is a personal perspective, right? So something that I might think is oddly and normal might be traumatic for you. So birth trauma really is individual. I can't define it because it's whatever is inside your heart. But if you come out of birth and you feel like you're questioning what happened, what did they do to me, why, you felt like you were a piece of meat and people were just doing things to you and you weren't really part of the decision making in your own birth. This is what leads to birth trauma. It's not about how the baby was born. It could be a vaginal birth that leads to birth trauma. It can be a completely natural birth that leads to birth trauma. It can be a C-section that leads to birth trauma. It's really not about how the baby was born. Mm-hmm. It's about how you were made to feel, whether or not you were respected, and whether or not you had a part in your own journey. This really is where birth trauma comes from, I believe. And like I said, the same experience can happen for two different people, and it can be traumatic for one and not for another. So birth trauma really is as individual as each person sitting in this room.
Yeah, you're right. And what in this birth work we do today, and like in medicalized birth and stuff, where do you think that what are the most common causes? Where is this coming from?
Disrespect of the mother. Number one, disrespect. And I would say what I would call informed coercion. And what I mean by that is we talk a lot about this mantra of informed consent. Unfortunately, informed consent has been misconstrued as like telling you what I'm going to do to you. That is not informed consent. Informed consent means I need to understand what my options are, what the benefits and risks are. I need to have a voice to say yes or no, to ask questions and say yes or no. And a lot of times the medical community is in such a hurry to do what they do, and they want to make decisions for you, that they don't give you an opportunity to be a part of that. And they will tell you as they're doing something, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do that as I do it. Yeah. And they think that they're giving consent. That is not informed consent. That is informed coercion. And if the medical community, whoever you're working with, is not willing to accept your informed refusal, they're not giving you informed consent, because informed consent implies I have a choice to say yes or no, and I'm supported either way. And if we can't support, and I say we as a medical community, obviously, because I'm a midwife, if we can't support informed refusal, then we're not supporting informed consent either. So at the end of the day, I think that the lack of informed consent, the lack of respect for a woman to make her own decisions and have autonomy in her birth journey, and respecting the choices that she wants to make, is where a lot of trauma, if not all the trauma, frankly, is coming. Of course, there's trauma from bad outcomes, but I'm talking about a birth that has a typically, healthy mom, healthy baby at the end, but there's still trauma. There's the trauma because there's a complication or a loss. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about, and by all clinical measures, healthy mom, healthy baby, you're both alive. Pat yourself on the back. You had a healthy mom, healthy baby. But I think it's bigger than that. Like, I'd like to have whole moms and whole babies who don't have birth trauma, who come out of birth empowered rather than having that birth trauma. SubhanAllah. I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
I rambled.
No, you did not ramble. You said exactly what I wanted everyone to know. But because you said, like, you're as a midwife, you're working with parents. What are, like, some moms might even not know that they have birth trauma. What are signs would you notice?
Well, if you're questioning like what happened to you, if you're kind of sitting on the outside edge of your community and you just don't have the same like spark of life that you had before you had your baby, you probably have some birth trauma. I always say that I can see it when I go to women's gatherings. The young girls who aren't married yet, don't have kids, they're so carefree and like they don't understand like that there's even a life ahead of them that has responsibilities, right? Then you have the women that have had children, and they're kind of in two groups. You have the ones that kind of sit on the outside edge of the circle and kind of just sink into their chair and watch everybody else and like kind of have those hollow eyes, and they're just not full of that spark. And then you have the women that are just really full of energy and spark and leadership. And a lot of times it comes down to how they have their baby, because how you have your baby matters, and it affects you for the rest of your life. And if you've been traumatized in your birth, a lot of times you have a sense of oppression for the rest of your life. If you have an empowering birth experience, there's no holding you back. You can do anything, right? Mm-hmm. And this is what we're taking away from women when we take away their autonomy in birth, when we drug them through birth and we don't let them experience the empowerment that birth can be. We're really stifling that woman, subhanAllah. And I think that's a big piece of it.
Yeah, I think also what I've noticed working with women is that they don't want to talk about it, or just the topic of birth, or just discussion of birth stories just makes them cringe, or they just blatantly say no,
Well, I remember having one woman that was telling me that I did a little study for my master's, and I did some focus groups on a particular topic, which is unimportant. But one of the women said, I remember, it just broke my heart. She said, what am I supposed to say when I get together with my friends? Like, women always want to talk about their birth stories. What am I going to talk about? The pain, the horrible things they did to me, the trauma? Like, I've got nothing to share.
Right.
It broke my heart. Like, birth should be like the fondest memory. It's more important than the wedding day, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. And really, that should be the most beautiful day of your life. And so many women, it's a trauma, and I feel sad.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, we're going to take questions and answers at the end. Right now, we're sticking to the topic, and I really want to go through these things with Aisha so that we have discussed this and given you guys the tools as well. sometimes birth trauma can be longer emotional, like
It can be lifelong.
right.
I mean, like birth trauma oftentimes is equated to postpartum depression in many
Right.
cases.
Yes.
And a lot of times that leads to lifelong depression.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, sometimes we don't get over it. We end up living with that for the rest of our life because you will remember how you were made to feel in your birth for the rest of your life. And it does affect how you walk in this world as a woman. Now, having another birth after that is empowering can be super healing, right? And I know you're going to ask me about healing later.
Exactly.
But one of the healing things from a traumatic birth is to have an empowering birth, right?
Right.
But if you don't get that opportunity, or the next birth is also traumatic, it just perpetuates into sometimes lifelong depression. So,
Yeah, I mean, I've had women who don't want to step into hospitals again because
Yeah.
of the trauma that they've felt.
Yeah,
And
of course.
that is scary in its own,
That's scary.
right?
Yeah, when we're opting out of the hospital system because we're more afraid of what you'll do to us than we are than the birth itself, there's a problem with the system. There are great doctors out there. There are amazing doctors out there doing good work, but you got to work hard to find them, guys.
Right.
You're not going to fall into the hands of a supportive doctor because most of them don't support normal physiologic birth. They do deliveries, not birth. So at the end of the day, like, you have to work hard to prepare yourself. Knowledge is power, preparation, shop for a doctor that's supportive. The burden falls on you to put yourself in the right situation. And sometimes even with all the right situations, you still have birth trauma, but you have a far less likelihood of having birth trauma if you've done your work on the front end. But if you wing it and you just let it happen, very often that results in trauma.
Yeah, especially I think this is where we can talk about the existence of AMANI birth in our education programs and the doula support.
Yeah, of course.
Because I think what midwives and doulas and doctors as a team, right? Because you just said we need to find such care providers.
Yeah.
But how would parents find them if they don't know what they're looking for?
Right. And I always say this, Hafsa, if you don't know your options, you don't know what your choices are, you don't know what your rights are, you have none. If you don't write your birth plan, somebody else will write it for you, right? You have to know what your choices are. You have to know what you want. You have to be able to express that. You can't do that. You can't have intelligent conversations with your care provider and express what it is that you want in birth if you don't even know what you want, if you don't even know what choices are out there. This is why education is so important.
Yeah, I totally get that. So how can we, as a midwife, as a doula, or as birth workers, what can we do to support families, right, in preventing or easing these birth traumas? First of all, I think it's prevention for the ones that are going in pregnancy.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk about those that have experienced it.
Yeah. So first of all, prevention, like I said, knowledge is power.
Right.
Take classes. A lot of people tell me, oh, classes are expensive. Well, you know what? It's a lot more expensive to have a C-section. At the end of the day, like, what are you saving when you take a birth class? Not to say that the birth class is going to necessarily save every cesarean section, but it sure saves a lot of unnecessary cesarean sections, medically unnecessary cesarean sections. So at the end of the day, like, take classes, know what your options are, have your husband in the class with you if you can, because that will then give you that support structure that you need. Your husband, your mother, your sister, whoever it is that's going to support you on your journey, you want them to be in there in the classes with you so that you're learning together, you're bonding together, you're making decisions together, and then you go through birth together with that support by your side. Hire a doula. Your husband needs a doula too.
Right.
The doula is there as much for your husband or your mother, whoever's supporting you, as you, because at the end of the day, like, they're scared. They don't know they don't know what's up. They don't know when they should say yes and no. Not that we're there to make decisions for you, but we're there to support you with information, education, in the moment when things are happening in the hospital and like everything's just flying. You can look at your doula and she can explain to you like what's going on. Step by step. We can't take away sometimes the interventions that happen, but we can let you know what's happening and why. And just knowing what's going on is a huge part of being a part of the journey instead of being a subject of the journey, right?
Yep,
and when you're a subject to the medical interventions, that's when it becomes traumatic. When you understand what's going on and why, and you're making the decisions for yourself, that's when things actually become, in that time, they become more empowering than traumatic.
And I think it is unnecessary medical interventions
that
leave it traumatized. But I think when you have the knowledge and you know that this intervention here was necessary, that is empowering. That is empowering. You can have an empowering C-section, guys. Right. C-section is not the enemy. Induction is not the enemy. Doctors are not the enemy.
This is really about you having the knowledge to have informed decisions and intelligent conversations with your care provider and make informed decisions together so that you're part of your own journey.
Yeah, I remember the word that you use, which I use in my classes, alhamdulillah for C-section.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I have moms reiterating me, like they repeat it. They're like, this is where Hafsa said this, and alhamdulillah, this is where it was needed. So I think coming out of a birth where, first of all, you were in control, like you were the one who's deciding, no one else deciding for you, and you being educated beforehand so that when the time came, and in that I would want to add, I get lots of moms who sign up for classes. I really want to say, please, please, please complete the educational journey. That's you. You guys are adults, right? Aisha or we can't hold your hand and make sure that you're doing. We can't
force you.
Yeah, we can't force you as well. Right, fair enough. Yeah,
this is not like 10th grade math. You need it to graduate. I wish that you needed a birth class in order to get pregnant. I wish.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah.
So you have to want it. I always say that, like AMANI birth, for example, it's not for everybody. It's for the moms who trust Allah, who want this education, who want to avoid complications or interventions, and who are willing to prepare.
Right.
Like you need to eat well, you need to exercise, you need to shop for doctors. You need to be the one that makes the decisions. You got to have some strength and confidence. We're going to build your strength and confidence, your determination, but you got to come in with this mustard seed of it. You have to come in with a piece of it. And I'm sorry to see that, Noel. May Allah ease that trauma for you, subhanAllah.
Yeah, I met her at that event, and I didn't know her. She knew about me only after her birth happened. She just comes and she hugs me for a good 10 minutes.
Yeah. Sobbing
only.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that she got that outlet as well, and which is what I'm going to talk about next. That we talked about prevention, and that first part. This is
education, but education and getting the people around you educated too, so that they can be your support structure.
Yes.
It is very different than like everybody. Like you're trying, I don't want the epidural. I don't want to be on my back. I don't want. If your husband's not on board, if your mom's not on board, whoever it is that's supporting you, it's really, really hard because now you're not just fighting the system, you're fighting your own family.
Right.
So you need to have your family on board.
And many women would give up. That pressure gets to them.
Yeah.
That neocortex and all that we hear. That
of course.
Your instinctual thing shuts out.
Of course.
So please, let's not just you, but try to get support for people on board.
Absolutely.
And I think having a doula on board is like Aisha said, she would love to make birth classes mandatory for every couple that gets married. I would say I would love to make doula support mandatory for everyone.
Absolutely. And I will say that not every doula is the same.
Right.
Like sometimes I might be the right doula for you, but sometimes Hafsa might be the right doula for you.
Depending,
and you want to choose a doula that you feel comfortable with. Interview them, talk to them. And it's not just about what they charge. It's really, you got to find out like who's the one that makes you feel comfortable, and you're going to be vulnerable.
Space,
It's a very intimate space. So you need to make sure that the people that you're choosing are people that you feel comfortable with.
That's extremely important.
And shop for the right doula. There's lots of doulas out there.
Yeah, mashallah. We're in the process of. I'm excited for the new birth doula searching part of AMANI birth.
Yeah. On our website, you can search by certification, by language, by location.
You've done a great job on that, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
On AMANI birth. So AMANI birth's got you covered on all of that part.
Oh, I want to say also, if you have had experience with an AMANI teacher or doula, starting in January, you'll be able to go put a rating on their profile. Would love for you to rate your doula and your childbirth educator and leave a comment about your experience with them.
Yes. Inshallah, I will be sending that out to all my mamas who've done or interacted with me. And it's lovely. It's lovely to be a part of this movement, because look, it's one woman taking a birth plan, and then imagine it's 500 taking a birth plan. What would be more impactful, right? So if you benefited, you walked out with an empowering experience, please spread the word. It's sadaqah jariyah for you as well.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. You're all ambassadors. If you ended up with a birth trauma like I did, right? 16 years ago, I had a very traumatic birth experience. And I made this the mission of my life, the passion of my life, that no other woman should suffer the way I did. And that is why I do what I do. And that is why I'm sitting here today, alhamdulillah, right? I wouldn't be here. And so I'm thankful for that experience, even though it was very traumatic.
Because I would have never met you.
Yeah. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. And we've had a great time this time in Kuwait. I look forward to it. Alhamdulillah. So now let's talk about those that did experience.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe they did educate, but things didn't go out. Maybe they didn't even know about education.
Yeah.
We don't know. Yeah. Birth trauma can be in all fours. Maybe their voice wasn't heard at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never know, right? So there's trauma left, right, south, east, west happening all the time.
Maybe they had a traumatic outcome. They might have had a bad outcome
that
too.
Was not what they were expecting as well, right? So, deep breath.
Yeah.
How can we help? Like, what can a mama do if she has experienced birth trauma?
All right. The first thing that I will say is working with many women. You need to be heard and you need to debrief your story. All right. Now, women will try to debrief their story with the people around them. They try to talk to their husband tells them, just focus on the baby. They try to talk to their mother says, just focus on the baby. They try to talk to another auntie who says, we all have birth trauma, honey, just get over it. They try to talk to their doctor who says, what are you complaining about? You're alive, your baby's alive, just get over it. Nobody wants to hear it, right? And at the end of the day, this is hurtful. And a woman will retell her story again and again and again until somebody finally hears her. One of the things that we try to do as teachers and doulas at AMANI Birth is to really save space for you to be able to debrief. Debriefing your birth is so important, and especially when it's traumatic. It's great when it's an empowering birth story to listen to your birth story, but to really have someone who can listen to your story and that can help you to sort out, as women, we've got like spaghetti in our brains and we have all these different emotions and feelings and they're all floating around, confusion and frustration, and I felt oppressed and I was so frustrated, all of these different feelings. When you start to tell your story to someone who's really truly listening and who can validate your feelings and say, my gosh, they did that to you without your consent. That must have been so frustrating for you. That must have been so scary when you didn't know what was happening. Yes, exactly. When you start to talk to somebody who really understands how to listen to you, it can help you to put the trauma to bed. Now, another thing that I also highly recommend is that you write out your birth story. Even if nobody is going to read it, just going through the motions of writing out your birth story allows you to work through all of those emotions. You have to work through the emotions to be able to put them to bed. You cannot put them to bed. They're in your head and you keep reliving it. You keep telling the story again and nobody listens to you. And every time you tell the story, you relive the trauma. You can't get past that until you finally get a place where you can settle all those feelings. I think that's super important.
That is it. And I think our scope, like at least my scope as a doula, these are the two tools, main debriefing tools I always say. And then if I notice that this woman has much more baggage than she should be carrying, and this can impact her life, it's more for
sometimes you need to go to counseling, sweetheart.
Yeah, that is what I was going to say.
Sometimes a professional counselor will do wonders. And what are they doing? They're listening, right? And this is really what you need. You need someone to truly hear you.
Yeah. So they're listening, and they're listening without judgment, right? There are so many people out there just judging you. And I feel when it is someone you don't know, so if it's like a professional who is professional, they know how to help, like what I was saying, that spaghetti or that ball of wool, which is jumbled up, to knit it out. Like it becomes all structured and it helps you put things in order, right? So,
and I just want to address Noel, who said, well, you're describing what's going on in my head. I know, sweetheart, and I don't know where you live, but I wish I could give you a hug.
Yeah.
You're in Kuwait, and come and see me. I'd love to give you a hug before I leave. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm leaving tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'd just love to give you a hug and just let you know.
I think she feels very validated.
And let you know that your journey matters. Your journey does matter. I always talk about the journey, by the way. From a doctor's perspective, healthy mom, healthy baby, pat myself on the back. I did a good job, right? But like I said, I think it's so much more than that. I think the journey matters. And I'd like to talk about going on a trip. So Hafsa, let's go to Singapore.
Let's go
to Singapore. You guys ever been to Singapore? I don't know if anybody in here is from Singapore, but Singapore has the most amazing airport. I'd love to go to Singapore and just not even leave the airport, right?
I haven't seen that yet.
It's amazing. So we got Hafsa and I, we're going to go to Singapore. No kids, no husbands. Woo! Girl trip, right? Girl trip. So we're going to go to Singapore. We're excited. We've been planning it for months. This is just pretend, not for real. But Hafsa and I are going to go to Singapore. Yeah, maybe we'll do it.
We'll do it.
But we're going to get on the plane and we're heading off to Singapore. And, we're just chit-chatting. We're so excited. We even got first class seats. We get there. And as we're landing, it's a crash landing. The plane breaks into pieces. Things are flying everywhere. Body parts are flying everywhere. I got blood splattered in my face. It's not my blood, but somebody's arm got ripped off and I got blood all over me. At the end, when everything settles, I look at Hafsa. We're okay. Like we only got a couple of bruises and scratches. Overall, we're okay. But man, was that traumatizing, right? Now, do you think we're going to be able to go on about our vacation and have a good time?
Are we even going to enjoy that airport?
No, we can. Well, exactly. I can't have a good time now. I'm walking out of there soaked with somebody else's blood. I just watched people die. I almost died myself. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to enjoy this week in Singapore. And the worst part is every single minute of that trip, I'm looking at Hafsa going, oh my God, we got to get on a plane to go home.
Yep.
I never want to get on a plane again.
Yep.
How many of you have given birth and been like, I'm never doing that again? Like, I wanted 10 kids, but forget it. I'm never doing that again. People seem to forget that the journey matters. The journey absolutely matters, subhanAllah. And, doctors are so focused on the outcome that sometimes they forget that we need to take care of the journey as well, subhanAllah.
Right. SubhanAllah, exactly. And I think that was one of the reasons my C-section and my VBAC, there was like a 4-year gap, because I was like, no way I'm having another child.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, so that is how traumatized I was. So if you are feeling exactly what Aisha just described, you're not alone.
No.
So that is why I'm saying, so like people like Nawal and others, that I want you to feel validated, first of all.
Yeah, Rabia's got trauma from just supporting her sister.
Imagine.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're definitely not alone, but I also want to say to you, it's not supposed to be this way.
Yeah.
I want you to know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It is not supposed to be that way. And if you're a mom of childbearing age and you've had that 1 or 2 kids and you really wanted to have more, now you're scared. Please get educated, get the support you need. It's not supposed to be traumatic.
True. Yep. And birth is supposed to be a good memory, not a bad one. And if it was that bad, please, like Aisha said, start with the debriefing, start with the writing. And if you still feel not okay, and if
go to a psychologist,
please. And not one trip. I think that's very common. Follow-ups.
There's nothing wrong with seeking mental health help if you need it, guys. Yeah. We have so much stigma around mental health, postpartum depression, etc. Wallahi, you deserve to get your life back. Yeah. You deserve some help to sort through it, subhanAllah. Get the support that you need.
And one mother yesterday, I was talking to her, I'm doing this mentors course as well. She's like to me, I had a traumatic birth, but whenever I want to tell or share about it, gets associated with shame, that I'm trying to get attention seeking. So a lot of the time, many women don't share about it because they're afraid of, judgment. That is one part, but sometimes there's a lot of shame and, guilt associated with it.
Yeah. Subhanallah.
And I think if a woman is made to feel ashamed about her experience, that is very dismissive,
very, very disheartening.
They're very disheartening, and it's extra. I would say, it's very disrespectful for that woman and her journey. She should never be she should always be in I hope she finds a safe place where she can be vulnerable and should be able to share it.
Absolutely. Subhanallah. And the thing is sometimes you really do need to share that with a professional sometimes, and that's okay. Sometimes you just need to have a good listening ear, and you'll get that a lot of times from a childbirth education class or from an experience with a doula. But at the end of the day, don't stop until you feel whole.
Right.
Don't stop until you feel whole, sweetheart. You deserve to be in a good space in your own body and in your own head.
That is extremely important, right? So don't feel that, okay, it's been 5 years, 10 years, I should be okay with it. No, if you still feel traumatized talking about it or thinking about it, it's never too late to reach out.
I also want to talk about physical. So let's talk about the physical part of this. Let's say you had a C-section. Now you have this scar on your belly. It can be very difficult to deal with that scar on your belly. You need to also desensitize yourself to that scar. You need to be able to touch your stomach again. You need to be able to be okay with that scar. Touch your scar, move your scar around, get used to being in your own skin. Because if you're afraid to touch and I'm talking about after it's healed. I'm not talking about the first week after birth, right? But I'm talking about after it's healed. You need to start accepting your body and accepting where that scar is at on your body, because that can become like a what do you call it, a taboo zone for you. Yeah. And that can be really lifelong.
Every time you look at yourself in the mirror, that would be exactly. Yeah. So true. I would say along with that, I would also say that when it comes to physical, it's not just a C-section, things like an episiotomy. Those
of course.
Horrible things, right?
Yeah.
Things that should not have been done to a woman unconsented, or even if it was forced consent or something, like I said coercion, right? Not even consent.
Yeah, it's not a form of consent, it's informed coercion, right? Yeah.
Right. So you've talked about what helps. So can people truly heal and find strength?
I think so. I don't want to sit here and say, yes, of course, no, of course absolutely.
It's not a yes or no.
And I don't want to minimize anybody's journey ever, right? But I think that with some work, some self-realization, some self-love and forgiveness. Like you have to forgive yourself, because a lot of times I think trauma comes from guilt as well, because we feel like, well, I should have gone to a better doctor. I wish I knew about childbirth classes and I didn't take them, and you know, maybe it would have been different. Don't what if yourself, please. We don't have what if in Islam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, lean into your faith, because wallahi, 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 faith is what keeps us sane at the end of the day.
Right,
lean into your faith. Don't ever question. Hafsa had a traumatic birth, but you know what? I'm sorry, Hafsa. I'm glad you did. If you didn't, you wouldn't be sitting here with me, like you said. So at the end of the day, always remember that Allah's qadr is greater than our understanding. And sometimes what you go through so that you can reach to a different place.
Yeah,
Okay?
what we think is bad might be what is khair for us, so we don't really know. So yeah, accepting the other part, working through it, healing through it, and especially when it comes to the mental health and seeking therapy where needed, it is not one session. Please, it needs to be a follow-up. It needs to be until you truly feel the proper healing, right?
If you can't talk about your birth story without crying, you're not done.
Okay, that's the key golden nugget today.
Yeah.
Right. That is very important. And I think even like birth work.
Yeah, see, Dea and Umi Kulsum, I've got lots of people in the room that I just love all of you. You're part of my family. Dea certainly is with Amani Birth because of her birth trauma.
Yeah,
she made it her mission to bring Amani Birth to Indonesia. That's her country. Based on her birth trauma, I've gone to Indonesia every single year because she's made it her mission to make sure I come every single year and grow the Amani Birth family in Indonesia. You know, so she's taken her birth trauma and harnessed it and turned it into something powerful, right? As you've done, right? And I always say, like, how can you take what you've experienced and turn it into something powerful and something that moves you and that motivates you and that perpetuates out into goodness in your community?
Yeah, that is, I think, what we need to look at. That how can we find the khair in it and use that after healing ourselves?
Yes,
of course.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm not going to take more time of yours, Aisha. Just the final, any practical tips or pieces of advice about birth trauma you would want to pass out to expectant parents, moms who, I think the ones mostly here are those that have experienced some sort of trauma.
I wish we have men in there. Are there any men here? I wish there were men here, because what I would like to say, wallahi, is to the brothers, learn to listen, acknowledge, and validate your wife's feelings, because the first piece of invalidation sometimes comes from our husbands, because our husbands are the ones closest to us, and maybe they were even there, and we try to talk to him. And husbands are fixers, and they try to then give us like all the answers, like just focus on the baby, just pray more, you know, and then you just feel even worse because you're insinuating I don't have faith. And it's not like I'm not praying, bro. Like, you know,
exactly,
what I need is for you to just hold me and say, sweetheart, it's okay. I love you. Let it go. And acknowledge those feelings. So I wish I had brothers in the room so I could have that conversation with them, because I think the husbands are a big piece of it. And unfortunately, in a lot of the cultures that we work with, the brothers don't know and they don't get it. And I would even say that goes for all cultures, Western, Eastern, doesn't matter. Men don't know how to sit with women in their trauma. And because they don't know how to sit with women in their trauma, like we feel like we got nowhere to go. And so I just want to say, you know, I wish the brothers would step up. I wish I had more brothers in the room. I know Fariha's husband, is Fariha still with us?
Yeah, I think she was.
There she is. Fariha, I know that your husband is doing a podcast for men. Can you please put the link in the chat?
Yeah.
Have your brothers go look and talk to Fariha's husband. Love, love, love this family. Fariha is such a powerhouse as well in birth support, part of the Amani Birth family, and has her own thing that she does. And then her husband has really stepped up as well and is doing this father's podcast. What a need for that this is in the community. So I really want to bring the dads along and get them involved. And if you work on your trauma together with your husband, it becomes a bonding thing. Have you guys ever heard of trauma bonding? Anybody ever heard of trauma bonding? Yeah. When you go to the military, for example, they put you through a lot in basic training. And this part of that mantra, part of what they're doing is having you trauma bond with your platoon. By the time you're done with your basic training, I can have a bowel movement in front of you. I can, you know, whatever. Like I will go into a burning building to pull you out. Like we have trauma bonded to the point, like there's nothing that I wouldn't do for my buddies in the military, right? Because they go, that's part of the training is to break them and then to bring them out on the other side so bonded. Sometimes that's what happens in birth. And you can go through a birth and have this trauma, but what if you came out on the other side and that created such a huge bond with your husband because you guys get it and you get over it together? Like how huge is that?
That is
How
definitely.
huge is that? How strong could your marriage become?
Subhanallah.
Marriages break because of your depression, but what if you worked on it together and you came out on the other side healed
and stronger than
yeah,
before.
stronger than before. Like, it's huge. Subhanallah.
Yep. And in fact, I'm doing a training right now. Of course, first it's like in trauma-informed care as well. So I think in that, the processes that I'm learning, the tools I'm learning about regulation, about handling shame, I think that has really helped me to help mamas with talking through the birth trauma.
Yeah.
And what I realized, and this is why I was like, I could do so many topics with Aisha.
Oh.
Why did I choose this one?
I don't know.
I was like,
we can do a fun topic. Why'd you choose trauma?
Because that is
it's an important topic.
Yeah, no one talks about it.
I know it's an important topic.
That is why.
Yeah.
Next time it's going to be fun.
Next time we'll be fun. All right.
I'm gonna make
Let's talk about something fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so I realized there's not enough knowledge out there about it. There's not enough. No one talks about it. And there are these moms shut in their cocoons.
Yeah.
And they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I really hope that.
Well, I think it becomes their normal.
Yeah, it becomes their normal.
That's part of the problem. We normalize trauma.
Yeah.
And it's not normal. It's not okay.
It's not supposed to be normal.
No, it's not okay. Empowerment is what it's supposed to be.
Oh, but the baby's okay. Alhamdulillah, say thankful for this baby that's here.
Of course, I'm thankful for the baby. This is not about that.
Right.
Wallahi, there's more to birth than that.
Yeah, we should do role plays, you know.
Yeah.
About how to support. Yeah, but yeah, no, like I tell them, you want to share? I'll sit with you. We'll have a cup of coffee. We will talk birth. You just put it out.
Yeah.
Get a box of tissues. Take it out of your system. And I might not have answers for you. I cannot say that. Oh, should that happen? No. I will be there empathetically listening to you.
Yeah.
I think there's lack of empathy in this world.
Absolutely. Fariha, can you put the link to your husband's thing in the chat, please? So that the sisters can
join
hopefully
tomorrow.
join tomorrow. Maybe have their husbands join along with them.
Yes,
inshallah.
please. And in fact, even if you are a pregnant mama, or if you are planning for your next pregnancy and your previous one was traumatic, please make them join the birth classes.
Yeah,
like
along with you.
Yeah, we women know how to convince these men. We can do it for anything.
Yeah,
this should be priority.
Yeah.
Right.
I always tell mamas, if you want your husband to come to birth class, it is your job to get him to come to class 1. Whatever you got to promise him, whatever you got to do, you get him to come to class 1. It's my job to get him to come back. Right. You got to get him to come to the first class.
That is extremely important. Yeah, inshallah. All right. Anyone has? Can you click the next one?
Oh, next one. Sure.
So I'm talking about the birth classes. First of all, I want to thank everyone that's here, and especially thank Aisha. That is our social media handles. Those of you who might not, I mean, I would be surprised if you don't know about AMANI Birth, but there you go. Don't forget to follow AMANI Birth on Instagram, inshallah. This is my contact number if anyone needs to reach out to me or get me any links or anything for the classes. And next. Okay. And these are the birth classes that I was talking about. So the birth preparation classes, my next group starts January. What did I say? It was the first Tuesday of January. I think it's the 5th or the 6th. And that is, I don't think I'm teaching in Ramadan. I don't know yet. So if you are due from any time now until June, join the January. Yeah, because it is over 5 to 10 weeks, right? It is 10 sessions. Yeah. So you don't want to
don't wait too long.
Yeah. And the earlier you join.
Oh, yeah. The earlier you get in a birth class, the better. Ideally before 20 weeks. Ideally before you get pregnant. Actually.
There you go.
But as soon as you know you're pregnant, like it's time to do a birth class. It's never too late, but I really like to see moms in birth classes by 20 weeks, if not sooner. Because we're going to start out with things like exercise and nutrition that you need to know from day one if you want to have that strong, healthy pregnancy. The earlier you start implementing this stuff, the better.
Exactly. Right. Thank you so much. And these are the other services I provide, so we can just click through that. I do have a postpartum plan workshop coming up this month. So we have like a birth plan, but I noticed that many women don't know
what to do postpartum.
Yeah. So I'm actually in this birth plan, in this workshop, I'm going to make them write a postpartum plan for themselves, which I feel is very important. So that's the next upcoming event. And I think that's about it.
Okay.
So I'm going to give, because I should need to leave. She's exhausted. I'm tired too. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day, but alhamdulillah.
Yes, and we need to make decisions for tomorrow.
But I have to tell you something. It's been a long day hanging out with people who are interested in birth, that want to hear me talk about it. I have the best job in the world.
True.
I get to share my passion, and I get to see moms have exciting, empowering births. At the end of the day, there's nothing better than that. Moms and babies.
Surrounded by passion. That is what it is.
Yes.
It's her passion. She's rubbed it off me. I was yesterday I got home and I was like, Aisha, I'm just going to crash. I'm tired. And then I'm sitting on my laptop and I'm texting her, Aisha, you know what? I'm still up working.
Exactly.
So Faria has a, like, she used to always say that, you know, you need to get rest.
I know. Fariha's already telling me to get rest. So.
Yeah, so she's rubbing off me. So I'm up late at night yesterday as well. Subhanallah. Love you guys.
Love you too, Dea. And I'm still waiting for Fariha to put the link. Where's the link for your husband? Honey?
Yeah, just copy paste it in the chat, Faria, please, if you can. Just the WhatsApp channel thing that you've made for them. It's a WhatsApp channel.
It's a WhatsApp channel. Okay.
I'll really appreciate that. And if anyone has any questions now, 5 minutes, and we'll take, I think we can take 5 questions that Aisha can answer, because it's not every day I get Aisha on board. So quickly, if anyone has any questions.
I want to acknowledge Hiba, who says she's had 3 C-sections and she's on her way to be a CBE, a childbirth educator, mashallah. Thank you for sharing that, Fariha.
Yeah, thank you so much for it.
I also want to say, guys, that C-sections, I don't believe there's any such thing as an unnecessary cesarean from a mom's perspective.
Right.
Doctors do unnecessary cesareans, and I can lecture about that all day long with doctors. But when I talk to moms, I don't believe that any mom submits to a C-section that doesn't truly believe they needed it at the time. Then they sometimes question whether they really needed it medically. But I think in the moment, moms do the best that they can. And I think that to have a C-section, that's the epitome of motherhood, because I think motherhood is sacrifice. And you were truly tested at the moment that you became a mother. You had to say, forget me, lay me out, cut me open, save my baby. That is motherhood. And I never want you to feel diminished because you had a cesarean section. You are the actual definition of motherhood. And I roll out the red carpet for C-section moms. And I know this isn't this topic is not about C-section, but a lot of times C-sections are where the trauma lies, as well as other interventions. And even a completely natural birth can be obviously traumatic. But at the end of the day, I just want to make it very clear that from a mother's perspective, I know you're all out there doing the best that you can for your family, for your babies, and may Allah reward you.
And I'm, mashallah, so proud of you. Hiba is one of my best mamas. I look at her now, mashallah.
Yeah, mashallah.
Very proud of the work all of you is doing.
All right, Saida says baby weight is 3.5 kilograms. First of all, baby's weight, if he's still in the womb, is a guess, and it can be off up to a whole kilo.
Right.
So baby's weight alone doesn't really concern me. I have GDM, now that does concern me. Doctor wants to induce. Now, having said that, if your sugar's under control, that's the first question to ask. The second thing to recognize is that GDM in and of itself is not the complication. It's when you don't have your sugars in control and you end up with a macrosomic baby or you end up sick, that's the problem. Like I said, the ultrasound can be off by a whole kilo. So that doesn't mean the baby's 3.5. Maybe it is, but it could be 2.5. It could also be 4.5. The range is a kilo off on either side. Sorry, I'm going to give that to my husband. So having said that, the guesstimated weight is not my biggest concern. My biggest concern is, are mom and baby doing well, and is the sugar under control? If sugar's not under control, sweetheart, then you absolutely are like aiming for trouble, right? But if you've been able to manage to keep your sugar under control all throughout the entire pregnancy, and especially into these later months, then maybe you could be okay. But I don't want to try to give you medical advice.
Yeah, because this is just,
I don't want to try to give you medical advice on a like a conference call here.
Yeah.
I don't know your entire case. I don't know your situation. I will say this: if you don't trust your doctor and you're thinking, my doctor wants to induce, but do I really need to? You need to go get a second clinical opinion within your own community. Get a second or third opinion. That's my advice to you, really, rather than saying, yes, you need to be induced, or no, you don't need to be induced.
Yeah, it's not a yes or no.
And even if I tell you yes or no, doesn't mean I'm right. I could be wrong at the end of the day, right? So it's super, super important that you weigh your options. Do realize that with GDM, we do have a slighter, higher risk of stillborn than with moms who don't have GDM. So you got to keep that. Of course, I don't want to scare anybody, but you have to understand that is a real risk that you have to factor into your situation when you have a complication like gestational diabetes.
Right.
Miriam says, in Pakistan, doctors have told me point blank that they have been only trained for flat back, most traumatic ones, positions of birth. Well, you know what? It's 2025, and shame on them if that's the only thing they've been trained on. If that's the only thing that they're willing to get training on, because at the end of the day, there's lots of options out there for them to get more education. I understand that. But then I would shop around for another doctor. You do have good doctors in Pakistan. I've worked with some of the doctors in Pakistan that will allow you to be up and upright and squatting and on your hands and knees. So yeah, sure, that doctor may not be willing to do anything else, but you hire the doctor. Okay, thank you very much. Move on to the next one.
Yeah, and take the evidence base. So WHO recommends a birthing position.
Absolutely.
So use that. Use the right
And
tools.
frankly, I don't care what you've been trained on. Birth can be in any position. It's what you're willing to do, not what you've been trained on. It's what you're willing to do.
True.
And by the way, those are doctors that are not doing birth, they're doing delivery, Miriam, and there's a big difference.
Yeah, so I'll start with educating yourself, please, Miriam. If you haven't done that, please reach out.
Yeah, you need to have your own. You work with your own education first. I'm not sure which Miriam that is.
No, that's not so. Don't worry.
Not my Miriam. All right, Ariba, how to approach birth when water breaks before contractions start? Do we need to head to the hospital immediately, especially if you have a prior C-section? What are your thoughts on repeated cervical checks? Can this lead to cervical lip?
So Ariba, I know, is the one she's taking classes. We've just done one class. So Ariba, the first part of your question, we will be addressing it, but it's lovely to hear from you as well.
All right. So I'm going to say the first thing that I think about when water breaks, first of all, are we talking about a leak or a full-on break? A leak I'm less concerned about than a full-on break. A full-on break that I'm concerned that potentially we might have a prolapsed cord, which means that the cord comes down before the baby and gets smushed between the baby's head and the mother's pelvis. That's one of the complications when the waters breaks prematurely. Well, actually, whenever the waters break. But having said that, are the waters leaking or did they full on break? That's the first question I ask. Are they clear? Clear waters are more reassuring because that means that the baby did not poop inside of you. Once the baby poos inside of you, that's a sign that the baby might be in distress. Doesn't mean the baby is in distress, but could be in distress. If you have green or brown waters, go in. I don't care whether you're trying for a VBAC or not. Go in with green or brown waters to make sure that get that baby checked that the baby's okay. The next one is there a foul odor? If it smells like rotten fish or smells like rotten eggs, please go in. That's a sign of infection. You really need to go in right away. I also want to know, have you do some Kegel exercises? Do you feel anything in the vagina? Because that could be that prolapse cord that I was just mentioning. If you feel anything in the vagina, go in because that could be deadly for the baby if that is a prolapse cord. Is your baby moving like normal? If you're not sure, have something sweet like a cookie or a glass of milk. Lay still and poke at your belly. Does your baby poke you back? If baby's poking you back, then he's oxygenated. But if you're concerned about baby movement, absolutely go in, right? Now, having said that, how do you feel? Do you have a fever? That's a sign of infection. Do you feel like your joints are achy? You know, when you're getting the flu and you don't feel good, that's a sign of infection. Go in. How do you feel like mentally? And emotionally? Do you feel ominous? I trust your instincts. If you don't feel things are right, go in, right? Trust your instincts. Yeah. Now, having said all of that, hopefully you have a good enough relationship with your doctor that you can just go in and get checked if you're concerned anyways. You don't necessarily have to check in and get admitted. That's your choice to get admitted or not. And if you're concerned about that, go to a clinic that doesn't do birth and have them do a checkup on you and the baby, just like a ultrasound, heart tone check and make sure baby's doing well. You don't have to worry about getting admitted if they don't do admissions and births at that particular place. Now, most women will, once water breaks, will be into labor within 24 to 72 hours. The longer you wait, the higher the risk of infection. Nothing in the vagina, wipe front to back, et cetera, et cetera. So at the end of the day, you want to do everything you can to avoid anything going in the vagina, including doctor's hands,
checks, yes.
including cervical checks. Every cervical check increases the risk of infection. We do a lot more cervical checks than we really need to do. I can tell you in midwifery, they teach us to do no more than one every 4 hours. And if the waters break, we really shouldn't do any at all, unless we are concerned that there's a problem. So at the end of the day, like all of this has to do with like evidence-based care and working with the doctor that you trust, et cetera, et cetera. But all of those questions that I asked, like if any of those things are concerning, like forget it, go in. It's not worth risking. Go in if any of those things are concerning. All right. Miriam says, so even those who support VBAC have denied other positions during birth.
Is it okay not to feel excited about pregnancy, baby, and all this stuff where your mind goes numb and you just go with the flow?
Well, Aruj, I would say that there's an underlying issue with that. That's most trauma, likely, right? Because a lot of times this is what we call the flat effect. And it's where women have, they don't bond with their pregnancy. They don't bond with the baby or the pregnancy until after the baby's born. And sometimes it's because of past birth trauma. Sometimes it's because of low socioeconomic status and you're afraid you don't know how you're going to take care of this baby. Sometimes it's because you live in a war zone, right? Or you live in a state of shambles and you're just like bringing another child into the world is just overwhelming. But we call this the flat effect. It is something that is something that we do inadvertently to protect ourselves, like just in case the baby dies, just in case we have another trauma. It's our own internal like protection to not be excited and not bond with that baby. It is an issue, obviously. It is a symptom of a deeper issue, Aruj. And I don't know what the answer is for you because I don't know what your issue is. But at the end of the day, there's something there that is preventing you from being able to enjoy that pregnancy. There's some kind of trauma there or some kind of issue there that's preventing you from enjoying that pregnancy. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Fariha, right. She needs to keep searching.
Right.
Full on break, Ariba. So I gave you the answer to that. Miriam, doctors keep talking about uterine rupture for VBAC and it's scary. And even though I want to go all in and trust Allah, a part of me still doesn't want to be stubborn. How can I watch out for this? All right. So
that's what I told her.
Yeah. Oh, so you got that. Yeah. Okay. All right. DM me for details. Okay,
yep.
Great.
DM me. And because in the birth classes, I do include like the VBAC component.
Perfect.
Because VBAC is, so
that's a big topic.
Yeah. So because we do cover the warning signs you should not ignore if the uterine rupture is happening.
Yes.
And the latest evidence, which I don't know if I shared with you, now the risk of rupture after 2 C-sections is only 0.8%.
Yeah, I knew that 1 and 2 is 0.8.
Yeah,
there you go. When you have more than two, you're still only at like 1.27.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So 0.8 is like, that means 99.2% is not going to happen. Now you choose which one you want to go for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you're more likely not to rupture than you are to rupture. Right. If you look at statistics. But I will say this: obviously, if it happens to you, it's 100%. Right. Course, so it doesn't matter. but at the end of the day, like the chances of you rupturing are like so small.
And you're not doing it.
But the chances of complications from repeat cesarean sections are much greater. We don't talk about that.
Right. Yep. And the whole thing boils down to, again, don't go in blindly to any birth. Right. These ruptures and things happen when the mothers are not informed. Right. So if you are well informed about your birth, you would know, like, okay, this is a warning sign, alhamdulillah, for a C-section here. Yeah. Okay, all's fine. There you go. We've had moms in the AMANI birth family who had up to 4, and what were you saying?
Up to 6. I've had moms up to 6 C-sections had a vaginal birth after 6. I also know women that had 11 C-sections. Crazy, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, subhanAllah, each recurrent C-section is actually riskier for the mom than a VBAC if the VBAC is successful.
Right.
In fact, ACOG talks about what you plan to do versus your outcome. If you plan for a VBAC and you're successful, which about 86% of women will be successful, that's the lowest risk to mom and baby. If you plan a repeat C-section, you have a repeat C-section, that's the moderate risk. If you plan a VBAC, but you end up with a C-section, that's the highest risk, obviously, because an emergency came up and you had to change plan, right? So the probability of success matters when you're thinking about, should I go for a VBAC or should I plan a repeat C-section?
Right. Yeah, Hiba, I would say, yeah, inshallah, why not? Plan your 4th when Hiba's one of our new trainees.
Mashallah.
So if you want to go,
Hiba is it? Not the one that was here today.
The one, no, she's the one in Pakistan. I think she did the training with you in Karachi.
Oh, mashallah.
Yeah. Okay. No, please don't unmute. I don't want any unmuting here. So we are going to go ahead and wrap this up.
Okay, love.
Thank you so much, Aisha, for being here. I hope this session was beneficial to everybody.
Alhamdulillah.
And may Allah gather us again and again in happiness. And may Allah bless you all with empowering, healing births. And if anyone needs to reach out to do a birth debriefing, do a birth healing, just reach out to me. I'll be happy to talk you through informed trauma care as well.
And I just want to say, Hafsa, may Allah reward you for the birth work that you're doing in the community. You're reaching people that I'd never be able to reach. I'm sure there's some people in here I know, but there's lots of people in here I've never seen. So I know you're reaching out to a community of people that I would never be able to reach out to myself. And I really appreciate that you're carrying the torch forward, and you've been an amazing ambassador for AMANI birth and for natural birth. And may Allah reward you.
Jazakumullah khairan, yatikum al-afiyah. I hope to see you guys in our next talk, and I hope to see mamas in my classes. I just love building that bond with all my moms. All right, so like I always say, my support and my friendship and my sister's bond never ends with the classes. It's lifelong for here and inshallah in Jannah.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah. All right. Jazakumullah khair. Let's recite the dua. Subhanallah bihamdi. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khairan. Big hug. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
And take care, everybody. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.